Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell, NVIDIA, and Intel.
Hello everyone and welcome to Boris FX Live, your chance to see what's new with Boris FX whilst simultaneously typing semi-coherent thoughts into a chat box, which we are then legally obliged to read. My name is Ben Brownlee and I will be guiding you through today's stream. And today we're going to be focused on the brand new Continuum 2024.5. It is hot off the press today. I can feel the heat of our download servers glowing softly in the background. So what's new in Continuum? Well, that's going to be the job of my guests, Nick Harauz and John Dickinson, to explain in full, but I will tease that there are more ML powered filters. There are brand new color effects and many more particles to play with. All right. Excuse me. I'm just being told by Mission Control that we are experiencing increased tachyon particle levels. And if my bachelor's from Star Trek U is worth the paper it's printed on, then I think there's going to be some strange time disruptions happening over the next 90 minutes. So stay tuned for that. What this also means is it's more important than ever for you to get your questions and comments over to us as soon as possible. So how do you get involved? Well, you see that little chat box somewhere around the video that you're watching right now. This is what we call the comment box for your questions and comments. So what I want you to do is typically tap all of your questions into there as we go through, whether you're watching on YouTube or on borisfxlive.com. And of course, if you are watching on borisfxlive.com, there's another thing you can do as well, and that is enter our giveaway. We have got 3 prizes that we're going to be giving away today. We're going to be giving away 2 copies of 1-year subscriptions, I should say, of the new Continuum 2024.5. That's a $695 value for each of those. And if you hang around to the end of the stream, we're also going to be giving away a Boris FX Suite 1-year subscription as well. That is everything that we make, including Continuum, Sapphire, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, Optics, Crumple Pop, and something else, Synthesize, of course. There we go. So if you have a little look and borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see the box down there. All you have to do is type in your details here, as someone is doing right at this moment, and then you just continue to win, or join the prize to win. Full terms and conditions are of course on that site as well. Alrighty, now before we move on, what I'd like to do is also to say thank you to our sponsors for helping to keep our live stream lights on. So thank you very much to Dell, NVIDIA, and Intel. So thank you to all of our sponsors for your continued support for all of our live streams. And a big shout out to Dell with the Dell Precision. Conquer the complexity of AI with Dell Precision. Power your passion and purpose with NVIDIA RTX GPUs. Available now. And of course, we're going to be talking quite a lot about the AI stuff, in fact, the machine learning features that we've got in Continuum. And I'm using the Precision right now today as well. I'm a big fan of the Dell Precision laptops. Alrighty, well, obviously I can't do this all by myself. I would like to introduce our first guest today, who's going to be helping out with all of the questions and comments as we go through. And that is Nick Harauz. Nick, hello and welcome again to Boris FX Live.
Hey, Ben, it's great to be here.
It's great to have you here. Now, for people who don't know who you are, that person who doesn't know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a humble Canadian. I'm a director of marketing for Continuum, and been hard at work for the last couple of months, and very excited to be showing all of the new features with you here today. And I also help out with a podcast at Boris FX called Flow State.
Oh yes, we'll be talking a little bit more about that podcast a little bit later. I'm again a big fan. People might also recognise your voice, of course, from a lot of the Boris FX tutorials, including the brand new "What's New" video about Continuum 2024.5. But we don't want people to watch that yet. No.
Nope.
Watch it after the live stream. It fills in some of the gaps. All right, I can see we're already getting like a ton of questions flooding in. So I think without sort of any further ado, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the first of the
Yep.
brand new filters in Continuum 2024.5, and then we'll come back and we'll answer some questions. How does that sound?
Sounds good to me,
I mean,
man.
so,
I can't wait to see
yeah,
it.
it sounds good. Sounds
Yeah.
good to all of us. All right. So, hang on. This is where we're having problems with the Tachyon stream. We have Past Nick introducing Retimer ML. Past Nick, take it away.
Thanks, Ben. As someone who video edits quite often, I have to slow down or speed up clips in order to add drama or dynamicism to a given piece. Now, granted, traditional methods now shot in camera for slowing down your footage have gotten way better. I have to rely on archival material or pre existing content that was shot at regular speed and then slow it down using my given choice of an NLE. And sometimes, depending on how challenging the shot is with movement or overlapping action, the results aren't great. And this is where Retimer ML comes into play. In Continuum 2024.5, you can drag Retimer ML onto a clip, and it's going to allow you to slow down your footage, preserving those details, even at odd speed numbers. So let's take a look at it inside of Premiere Pro. I've got a challenging shot to work with here, where we've got this fluctuating light occurring that could just break down using traditional methods like optical flow. What I'm going to do is head over to my effects panel, do a search for Retimer here at the side, and let's just double click that to apply it to the clip. Here in Effect Controls, we have some basic parameters that we can use here. Now, when using this, I like to change my interface in a few different ways. So one is, I'm going to just right click and change this to B frames, because if I wanted to time offset this from the beginning, I could do so. So I could have the action start later on the clip. But in this case, I'm just going to enter a speed of 53. So slowing that down to 53%. And in order for you to see this next to the original clip, all of our BCC Plus effects now have a compare mode. If I twirl down the settings here and turn compare mode to side by side, here we can see the original image on the left and now the retimed image on the right. In addition to side by side, I could just do compare, which is going to do a split screen comparison and take advantage of a wipe in either compare or side by side mode. Let me turn this off and let's see the results of our retimed clip in full frame. So here's the result of the 53% retime. And as you'll notice, the detail in the subject's face carry on over, not to mention the overall shot despite the fluctuating light. It's good for us to take a look at this next to optical flow, just to see how that retiming method would break down in this situation. You'll notice that this shot didn't extend in length like if you use the traditional retimer inside of Premiere Pro. When you enter 53%, the clip's going to get longer. In order for us to have this clip longer, I'm just going to take the retimer effect and I'm going to cut it out. And I'm going to place this clip into a nest, which I'll call retimer 53. And the trick is to have the nest be as long as you want to slow down the clip. So in our case, the quickest thing to do would be to take this existing shot, I'll option click and drag it to make a duplicate copy so that this nest is double in length. I'll head outside of the nest and just paste the effect back on to be 53%. In fact, I'll just make this a steady 50. And we should see that if I grab onto the out point of the nest I can now double its length. And if I move my playhead down later, we can now see that we have that extended clip. So I'll just play back that end result now that it's double in length, since that we nested it. And now let's take a look at a remapping method. So I have this shot here of this glider. And what I'd like to do is remap it over time. That's really easy to do with Retimer, just like we would do with traditional remapping. So I'll do a search for it again to apply it to this glider clip. Press Shift 5 to go to Effect Controls. And like we've done with previous timelines, I'm going to right click and then just switch this over to frames. To walk through the process, at frame 53 is where I want to start a gradual slowdown from the existing speed of 100% down to 43%. So we'll start it here at 53 and we'll get it to reach approximately 43 on frame 73. So 20 frames later. We'll then let it play its slow motion just until he breaches this lower cliff. So that's at around frame 113. And now we'll ramp from that speed of 43% to 121% over a period of like 10 to 20 frames. Okay. So to start that process, since we've already applied retime, let's go back to frame 53 and then just click the stopwatch to lock in the speed value at this point in time. I'll jump forward now to 73 and I'll enter 43%. Okay, so now we have got our slow motion clip. This is looking great. I'll move forward in time just to frame 170 now. Just lock in the speed value that's been playing at 43%. Move to frame 200 in this case, and then ramp that back up to 121%. Now these keyframes are all linear. So if I just make my effect controls full frame so we can take a look at them, I typically like to take these keyframes, select them all. We can make them Bezier so that we have some nice ease in and ease outs to each of the keyframes. We do want to make sure that there isn't any sudden jerks, but we can take this as a starting place and then just change our ease ramps as required. So now that we have that speed all locked in, let's give this a full screen playback, watching that lovely slow motion down to 43%, and then that ramp back up. Now I'll be covering some other ML tools new to Continuum 2024.5. I did want to go over denoise, which is our first ML tool that was introduced in 2024, and how that model has improved in both speed as well as in performance. Right now, I have a shot here in my timeline that has quite a bit of noise. You might not be able to see it here in Avid, but I'm going to go to my effect mode, and I'm just going to enlarge that so we can see the colorful noise all across our shot. And the magic of denoise, if we head to our effect palette and just do a search for denoise ML, we'll find this under the image restoration category. We simply drag and drop this effect on, and it's going to remove the noise for you. In case you didn't see that in the background, just wanted to show there it is. Pretty incredible. In fact, I'm going to go to my effect editor and then just bypass this, the before and after. In addition to that, if we need to, there is a way to view just the noise pattern. So this is all of the stuff that it's seen and picked up and now removed. And here's the output. And you have two models you can choose from. The newest models are version 3. Right now it's set to compression and noise. And then we also have just camera noise, which might produce better results in some situations depending on what you're looking to remove. I'll stick to compression and noise in this case. And here is the final example of the noise removal. As you can see, Retimer ML has excellent results for getting crisp, clean footage, not to mention our performance improvements with denoise ML. I'll be back in a little bit to go over witness protection ML and how we can use that in our workflow too.
Thank you very much, Pastor Nick. Now for the question part, I'm going to be talking to the Nick of the present and the Nick of the future. I like to think of him as future Nick.
I was thinking you were going to
Nick,
ask me. Hello. I was
yeah,
thinking you were going to
I've
ask me
got
how to
tons.
switch the shirts, how I switched the
I've
shirts,
got
but
tons of stuff. I know you switch shirts so quickly. You're one of those quick change artists.
I am.
I've seen you in Vegas many times. Sometimes on the stage, sometimes not. Who knows? Who knows? All right. Well, let's get through to some of these questions because like it's really nice seeing people's reactions to Retimer ML the first time they see it because it's such a big change from some of the other retiming technologies out there at the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
actually, before we get onto the other questions, could you talk to me a little bit about the different ways that retiming is traditionally being done?
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes into post-production and just reflecting on the video, a lot of times you'll have archival footage or material that you need to work with that was shot with normal speed. And then when you look inside of an NLE, you've got frame blending or optical flow as your choices. Frame blending is going to usually add a bit of stuttering to the shot, while optical flow, while it does produce better results, and a lot of times, if the action or motion in the shot is complicated, it's just going to fall apart, like you saw with the fluctuating light. And I think when reaching for retimer in this case and being able to apply that and get these silky smooth results, uh, is fantastic. And the fact that we've started off by training this model in order to allow us to retime this type of footage, you couldn't ask for better results. And I've tried it in various systems and just been really impressed with that in terms of the fluctuating light examples, but also in other cases where you have overlapping action.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's where I saw it the most when I was doing my tests and sort of just working with my own shots is yeah, one of the things where optical flow sort of seems to fall apart quite a bit is where there is yeah these overlapping areas where which pixels are moving in which direction isn't always entirely clear, and that's another time where optical flow retiming just kind of stutters and just doesn't quite know what to do with things. So yeah, fast moving shots and or complex shots in that way, and Retimer ML just seems to handle those with a lot more I don't know, sort of like a casual attitude of just looking really good without actually having to put any work into it. So there's not as many kind of problem frames that you have to fix up. Well, I mean, with that in mind, I'm going to I've actually already I think you've covered this one. One of the questions from chat was what are the benefits of Retimer ML compared to other solutions? And I think you sort of did a good job of explaining that already. Another one was like Retimer ML is available in Adobe, as you showed as well. It's also available for OFX and available for Avid. And someone was asking how they would extend that retime clip in Avid.
Great question. So if you were looking to slow down the clip inside of Avid, you would want to have an appropriate amount of filler after the shot to make the space for however long the retime was. What I traditionally do is just on the above track, let's say this is V2 and your clip is on V1, you would apply the retimer effect, enter your speed percentage. Just beyond your clip is a gap, and that gap is the approximate length to which you want to retime it. I did a little bit of math. If you want to geek out in the retimer video coming out soon that you can take a look at in terms of getting the perfect amount depending on the speed percentage that you're looking to do. And just to add, Ben, like with compared to other competitors, I think when you look at Continuum as an overall package, like mixing retimer with some of our other ML effects and just traditional effects, it really
Yeah.
does become a desirable solution to have that in your arsenal of effects and tools that you're using within your NLE or motion graphic software.
I mean, it's interesting you showed off the denoise ML at the very end there
Yeah.
as well. Is that something you would put or use before a retimer, for example, or would you just sort of just stick the retimer on straight away?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, I would, in many cases, probably do the denoise first. Like, so if we're talking about the process in an LLE, although that denoise is faster, typically I would place the denoise on it. Then I would, let's say if I was working inside of Premiere, do a render and replace just so that I have
Yeah,
optimal performance. And then after that, then apply the retime in terms of the effect of the slowdown on the finished piece.
yeah. I mean that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of speeds, what sort of speeds are you seeing with retimer?
No, like I mean, I've been practicing it on a lot of HD as well as 4K clips, and the results in the various software has been great. I mean, especially for the best quality smooth motion. Now, granted, I'm in a situation where I'm using a Mac Studio, so I am getting a good boost of performance and trying this on a laptop, but impressed for the results of just having something high quality and also just being able to, extend the limits of storytelling. Slow motion and fast motion, if you're ever cutting together a sizzle or a reel, these are like primary building blocks for those extra nuances that you want to convey to the audience. So having that and just this extra speed, but with that quality as well, yeah, really good results.
Okay, final question then.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. I could do a lot more. Like one of the things that you were doing. No, I've got two questions. One of the things you were doing was always using, or you seem to be using, kind of off off even numbers type of like slowdowns and speed ups. You were doing like 53% or 43% and 100 and 107% or something. Why were you doing that?
I, it was actually to demonstrate that the retimer didn't break down at all. Sometimes when you enter odd numbers, like into a traditional like retiming method that you would use, like frame blending or optical flow, you're going to just see these like quirky results that could amount to just artifacts in your frame or some sort of additional stuttering that you weren't expecting. And to show the fact that I was using odd numbers on a remap, which is also traditionally something that can, quirk the system, so to speak. It
Yeah.
was just a great example of just seeing some crystal clear and smooth results. You know, I also like to think back to when we released Continuum 2024 and where denoise was and the fact that that's now double the speed of the
Mm.
fact that we can iterate off our existing models and see where this is going to come after feedback of this first release. So just something I wanted to mention, we're at phase one with the release of these ML tools and our package and always looking to iterate and make these things better.
Yeah, I think this has been like a huge advantage of the way that the ML tools in Continuum are actually structured, is the fact that once they're in place, once they're in the package, that doesn't mean the work on them stops. There's this sort of iterative process going on to keep sort of making them better, either in terms of quality, in terms of speed, or like the best of both worlds, like having both quality and speed coming in at the same time. It's like
Yeah,
it's properly having your cake and eating it.
yeah, exactly.
All right, last one. Uh, and this is something. It's not really a question. Really, it's more a comment of something that I've really appreciated again about the retime ML is when we're doing speed ups. Like again, like a lot of the sort of the traditional ways of doing those speed ups would be, you just drop frames really, and that would kind of be cheating. Not kind of be cheating, would absolutely be cheating, because you'd be watching something through, and then this nice sort of smooth motion would suddenly get a little bit choppy, and your eye would catch it, and like as a viewer, you just go, "Oh, I don't like that," but you wouldn't know why you didn't like it. And with the retimer ML doing like those slight speed ups, it just means that that movement just stays nice and clean, and you don't get that kind of jarring of the eye. I really enjoy that. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, and like just to add back to that, Ben, like that subtle detail, and going back to that extension of just being able to to now where I used to like try optical flow on a shot and just discredit a shot in general that I would get either from stock or archives
Mm,
because there was flickering light or because there was overlapping motion. Like I'm not afraid anymore to give Retimer a try and see what it comes up with. And I think that understanding of that complicated movement and some of that overlapping action, it's been like really pleasant to see that and to see some of those examples now stick up within the sizzle that got released and other examples that we're sharing through content coming out and being dripped out over the next week or so.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I did say those were my last two questions. I've actually got two more questions in the chat. One, will it integrate in both Premiere and After Effects?
That is, yes, it does integrate in both Premiere Pro and After Effects. You can use it. Keep in mind that nesting workflow inside of Premiere when you're extending the length of the clip. I like to say this just because of, hopping around between various NLEs, you're just used to seeing if you just have a clip where there isn't anything adjacent, the fact that it extends in length. So just keep that in mind that you'll want to implement that nesting workflow if you're looking to extend the length of the clip. But yeah, Premiere Pro,
Excellent.
After Effects, Avid.
And how easy is it to do keyframed time warps?
I mean, in some cases, you're at the limits of the software that you're working on. But if you are used to keyframing in any of these NLEs or After Effects itself, it's going to be extremely easy for you to do those retimes. I do like it's always great to plan it out. Just as a general tip, if this is something that you're just getting started in, as in just finding the exact frames in motion that you want to do the slowdown to, so that you get that desirable results. But in Premiere Pro, easily just being able to see your speed keyframes on the timeline by pressing that effects button, and then just widening your keyframes so that you can make them Bezier for that smooth motion between the ramp up or ramp down, and you're set. And then you can carry that even more, of course, with After Effects and then just using the graph editor.
Yeah, yeah. So nice. And we
Yeah.
can see more of that workflow in your Retimer ML standalone video that's going to come very soon on the Boris FX YouTube channel, correct?
Yes. Yes. You can see that. And there's tons of examples that we'll be sharing in that, and then other ones as we produce them over the next week and so.
Okay, well that's probably a good incentive for people if you're watching on YouTube to click on that subscribe button
Yes.
or go to the Boris Effects website, and it's right there on the What's New in Continuum product page. So yeah, go to Boris Effects, go to that Learn More, and then click on the Retimer one just there in the stream, and it's right there for you. Really good. Thanks a lot, Nick. We're going to come back to you very shortly. I'm going to do a little bit of business because I like to give away some free stuff, and I hope that we're ready to give away some free stuff on the stream. All right. So this is going to be the first of our prizes that we're going to be giving away today. We're going to give away a 1-year subscription to Continuum to one lucky winner. What have they done to deserve this? Well, all they've done is gone to borisfxlive.com, scrolled to the bottom of the page, and they have tippity tapped their details into the form there. Of course, there is still time to enter, not to win this particular prize, but there is still time to enter for later. If you're enjoying the stream so far, remember, hit that thumbs up button. Let us know you love it. We appreciate it more than almost anything. There we go. All right, if we are ready, I want to give away a 1-year subscription to Continuum. So I'm going to wheel out the old tombola. I'm going to start it spinning. If you don't know what tombola is, imagine a giant wooden rat stuffed full of paper. I'm rolling it, I'm pulling out a piece of paper. It's going to Monica Abeta. Congratulations, you are our first winner today. You have won a 1-year subscription to Continuum. If you're in chat, let yourself be known. Everyone else, if you aren't Monica, give Monica a round of applause in chat, please. That'll be great. All right. So there is still time for you to enter in. We're giving away another 1 year subscription to Continuum a little bit later on in the show. We're also giving away a 1 year subscription to the Boris FX Suite, changing lives one viewer at a time. That is everything that we make, including Continuum, Sapphire, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, Optics, Synthesize, and Crumple Pop. All you have to do is go to borisfxlive.com, enter your details at the bottom of the page. Full terms and conditions apply. Alrighty, well let's move on to our next effect that we're going to be looking at today. It's another brand new effect in Continuum 2024.5, and this time it's going to be a gentleman known to the crowd as Past Ben. Now usually I have to do some sort of subtle change to sort of figure out who Past Ben is. Sometimes they're giving away prizes if you can tell the difference between Past Ben and Future Ben. I don't need to do that this time. Past Ben happened to forget that he was wearing the world's biggest headphones when he was recording. So here is my interview with Past Ben. Take it away. Yes, thank you very much. We are going to be looking at Continuum Color Link in Continuum 2024.5, and this is a really handy effect for a lot of different types of projects. Actually, I'm going to show you it on some graphics first, and then we're going to come and have a look at and see how we can start to work with it with green screen as well. But let's take a little look at what Color Link actually is. So I'm in Premiere at the moment, but again, like all of the Continuum effects, the basics work in exactly the same way no matter where you are using them. So I'm going to type in Color Link, and we'll go and find BCC Plus Color Link. I'm just going to drag this on top of my graphic. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is tell it what layer we need as a reference, because what Color Link is going to do is it's going to analyze the layer that we choose and then put over that color over the top of our linked layer. So here under my sample layer, I'm going to set this to sample video 1. So as we play this through, you can see that the colors on our graphics layer are starting to take on some of the tone that's happening on the sampled layer. And let's dig a little bit more into why that is. So probably the most important area that we've got to begin with at first is our sample area. So this is where we chose the sample layer. We now get to choose the sample method. So these are going to have sometimes small differences and sometimes big differences depending on what layer that we are choosing or what of the methods we are choosing. I'm going to start with, I'll start with brightest to begin with. So what the brightest is doing is it's looking at this whole layer and it's then finding the brightest colors that we have over the top, and we come down a little bit now, it's then blending those over using our chosen blend mode. So if I set this to normal, it's now going to fill our layer, which you can see has an alpha channel, with that brightest color. So if I play this through, you can see as my brightest color changes, then that's going to start to flash in a little bit. This isn't really how I'd use this in particular. Let's take this away from normal, and maybe we can set this, well, maybe we'll set this to screen to give us a bit more of a kind of flashy look. That's pretty good. And just by experimenting with the blend modes, you can get quite a few different looks with this as well. Now you'll notice a couple of things. You'll notice, of course, that our layer or our color is changing as the background changes. I like this. I mean, that's one of the reasons why it's the default, is that this is kind of probably the usual way that you'll work with this. But you can also set your sample type, instead of dynamic, we can set this to a static frame, and then you just choose your frame underneath. And you'll see as I scrub through here, it's going to change up what my brightest pixel is in any one given area. So we can have this and just pick one of the colors there, one of the frames there. Now, I like having this set to dynamic. I think this fits everything in with the background quite nicely. The final thing we can do here, of course, is we can change up the sample region. Instead of having this as a full frame, so it looks at the whole area, we can just have this looking at a particular point. We can change our center point here. You might be able to see we've got the on-screen controls as well, so I can move this around to a particular area, sample this particular spot over here, and we can choose the radius of this. So we can take this all the way down to 1 and just get a single pixel being sampled. If we do change that and we find that there are, you know, big changes happening, you can see that this can sort of flicker a little bit. So to kind of soften out some of those transitions, I would recommend having this radius set up a little bit bigger, so it takes an average of the pixels that are going around there. So any one pixel that changes, if it's a little bit noisy, you know, that's not going to have as big an impact on it, but it's still going to get that overall sort of feeling that we're after. Okay, so this is sort of one way of using it with text, which is sort of a big way of doing it. Probably my favorite way of using this though is when I'm doing some sort of compositing work. So one of the things that's really important when we're trying to composite foreground and background elements together is to make sure that the colors are matching. And we can do that already in PriMatt Studio. We do have, if I turn this on, we do have like a color correction module directly in here, so we can make sort of like small color changes to try to get things matching together. This takes a little bit of time, or we could use Color Link. So let's bring Color Link over the top here, and I'm going to select my sample layer, which is going to be video 1, and already you can see there, on and off, we're getting things in pretty much the right sort of area. It might be a little bit dark. I might want to sort of bring this out a little bit. Well, luckily inside of Color Link, I also have color correction that I can do if I need to. What should we do? Maybe bring the gamma up a little bit. Just make the subject stand out a little bit more than before. So that's the before. That's the after. And because we've got this all linked together using the color link, if I come to another background, I don't have to do any other real work. Most of that hard work has already been done for me. As you can see, I'm not changing any of the parameters over here. I've kept those as they are. All it's doing is it's just sampling the layer in a different way. And we still maintain complete flexibility, even though Color Link is doing, well, I was going to say 80% of the work. It's probably doing 90% of the work in this here. Let's take this one. This here is using the diffuse color. It's the same color link. There's no keyframes placed on the color link. And then I've got the second version, and that second version is using the average sample method rather than using the diffuse color. And I think both of them give really quite a nice results. So we can sort of build further based off of this. This is kind of fun. Well, explore Color Link in Continuum 2024.5. I will hand you off to other Ben now, non-headphone Ben, back in the present, and I will, yes, see you all very, very soon. Probably sooner than I think, anyway. Well, thank you very much, past Ben with comically large headphones, for that look at Color Link. I'm going to swap things around a little bit because it feels a little bit weird asking myself questions and then answering them straight away. I could just be making stuff up. So, Nick, are you still with us?
I'm here, and you also promised to not ask me any more questions, so I think it's a perfect time to switch and ask you some.
Payback, isn't it?
It is. It's total payback.
Okay.
But you know, I know that you've worked like quite a lot on all different types of compositing shots, you know, and with Color Link, and like from your use of it, like what do you think are some of the subtle advantages to it? like when I think about it, I think about it as a mix between like a color match and then that dynamic mode that picks up on fluctuating light. But I'm curious um, how you explain it in addition to some of those visuals that you showed.
Well, I mean, it's you've sort of hit the nail on the head a little bit there, is that the fact that it's got that dynamic mode to it, so that, you know, you don't have to worry about keyframing colors up and down to make sure things are matching. You know, that's such a huge help. And the different modes as well. I mean, what I didn't really go too deep into, and I know that John, because I know John does this in his full Color Link tutorial, is talking about what the diffuse mode is actually doing, and the sort of the subtle differences between the diffuse mode and the other sort of blend modes. But just sort of having that there, being able to immediately see what these colors are going to do, and even if it's not getting you 100% of the way there, the fact that it, you know, it cuts out a few minutes of fiddling about with different color tools to try and, you know, get the basic match of your shot, means that you can then spend more time doing the important things like getting the edges of the composite looking right, which is always the, you know, it's always the bugbear of getting any kind of compelling and sort of realistic looking composites, is sort of figuring out, yeah, color and edges.
So and you demonstrated Color Link in a few different software applications, but I'm wondering like how would that like apply to a piece of software like Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, Vega. Well, Color Link is. Let's take this back a little bit and make
Yeah.
it general to begin with, and then focus on Vegas. The way that Color Link works is it needs two inputs. You put it on your footage that you want to do the color correction on, or the color linking to. So that's one input, and then you have to have your background as well. So that's where it's taking the colors from. That's your second input. Now, Vegas does allow you to have multiple inputs, but it only allows you to do that when you apply an effect as a sort of composite mode filter. So in the same way that you would apply something else like, you know, Mocha Pro, you'd apply it as a, is it composite mode filter or composite filter? You basically apply it as that, and it gives you a whole list of effects that you can apply in that mode. And you would choose Color Link there, and that will give you access to that secondary input that you're after. In the same way, if you were using it in Resolve, you would want to use it in a room where you had the ability to sort of take in two inputs. So that would either be fusion or color. In Edit, things are a little bit trickier with getting in multiple inputs at the moment. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. You need to look at the host specific ways of using Color Link, and luckily all of those are detailed in the manual. Oh, documentation. It's not a manual anymore. It's documentation. There we go.
Uh,
Show my age again.
I like how you said, you know, like depending on the multiple layer inputs, because often like when I think about color correction as a video editor, I'm thinking primarily first of like the single shot and then matching it against other shots. But where Color Link shines is that it's kind of like your color correction for a composite, right? For those multiple layers. And
That's
there's
it.
never a situation like even in motion graphics and VFX where you don't live without that. In video editing, sometimes you just might want to have the text a bit more integrated into the scene. And it's so easy to drop this, not only in After Effects, but in other applications too, where it picks up that second, like the clip that would be underneath, and then you apply the color. And then the other thing, you know, in watching your video, there's a lot of little finessing that you probably want to do with the effect. But because there's a color correction and the diffusion built in, it kind of allows you to do it all within one place versus having to add additional effects to your stack that you might would have to reach for. It's just all in that one place, and being able
Absolutely.
to, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really important where you're working in in an NLE that isn't really built around you adding in lots and lots of filters. You know, if you think about something like, I mean, Avid Media Composer, again, it's something where, or it's an application where you can add multiple filters to a particular clip, but it starts getting a little bit kind of, if you want to change things, you've got to start digging deep and then coming back up for air and doing all of that sort of fun stuff. The more you can do within one filter, the better, I think, and that's why I like. Well, I obviously, you know, we're looking at Color Link right now, but the other effect I showed in there as well, which was Primat Studio. That's why I'm a big fan of Primat Studio as well, because like it's a very flexible one effect keyer, because it just is broken up into all these little modules that you can turn on and off and sort of figure out if you need those or not. And it's the same with Color Link as well. It's got the color correction module. It's got, you know, the other you know, the other modules that you may or may not need when you're working in that, which you can just sort of choose to leave off or to turn on and tweak up a little bit. And I think we're going to see that in my, when we start talking about particle illusion. I've got a few little text particle illusion things where Color Link has just become like a firm part of my effect stack now. Whenever I'm doing anything kind of fun with text and particles, just because it gives you that sort of dynamism without having to pay for it with keyframing anything.
I wanted to go to a user question, which was like regarding the ML filters, the ones that just came out, and the other two that we have in with Continuum.
Oh, yeah.
Which are they available in the cloud?
No, I mean, all of the processing that we do with the machine learning filters is done directly on your system. It's you know, it's on premises processing. So nothing is sent to the cloud. Your data stays on your system. You know, there's no kind of security risk or anything like that. Everything is directly in your system. The only time that isn't the case is if you're using the particle illusion stability area to generate up particles for particle illusion. That's the only time anything is not even sent to the cloud. It's pulled from the cloud, really. But you know, that's basically it. All of the denoising, retiming, any of the other ML filters we might be looking at later, you know, all of that stuff is done directly on your system. And it doesn't matter if you're working with an NVIDIA card, AMD card, or if you're on Mac and you're working with Metal, you know, those are all going to be processed on your system. We are very big fans of being as open and as agnostic as possible. We want everyone to be able to enjoy these tools, not just people that happen to have like one specific setup. We need this to be as open as possible.
Yeah, there's definitely like a huge advantage to working with these ML filters offline, and then just in general collaborative pipelines, you know, with that security of information and data.
Absolutely. I mean, we've always been sort of like artist focused in that sort of way. You know, we're there creating tools to sort of help artists do their work faster. You know, we're not you know, kind of interested in sort of creating up a you know, a kind of a tower locked away with our little goodies in there. We want it to be open and accessible for people to use.
I know I've almost questioned you out, but I had one more user question I wanted to bring up from the chats, and I'm looking forward to your payback. But the last one I have for you is how to install Boris FX Continuum specifically on Nuke.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean that's just the basic OFX installer. So whether you're wanting to run any of the Boris FX products, whether it's Continuum, Sapphire, Silhouette, Mocha Pro, whatever you want, use the OFX installer and that will install it into Nuke, and you'll be able to see it directly from there. The only exception for that is Continuum isn't available for Linux. So if you're working on a Linux system, then you won't be able to see that in Nuke on Linux. But if you're working on Mac or Windows, just use the OFX installer and you're good to go.
I'm done with my questions.
Oh, excellent. For now. For now. All right. Well, let's have a little. I was going to say let's have a little break. We will have a little break. I'm going to. What I'll do is I'm going to beg for these things again. You see this? This is my thumb, and it's up. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a button that looks a little bit like my thumb, and if it's not a solid white thumb, make sure you press that. Just see what happens. Some people get confetti. Some people get another kind of like explosion of joy, just to see that little like button going from black and white, or from black to white. You know, I'm a big fan of that myself. I think if you haven't already done that, do it now. If you want to see more stuff from us and want to be one of the first people to see all of the videos that we are creating, not just for Continuum, but also for Continuum, then make sure you're a subscriber as well, and you'll be among the first people to be notified. And of course, you can follow us on what people are now calling the socials. So that is obviously we have a YouTube page, we have our Instagram, we have our Factbook, and we have our Twitterx. So you can follow us all on any of those things as well. I also believe that we do a lot of dancing as well. I'm not sure whether we have a social media presence for our dancing, but maybe we do. Maybe we do. Maybe we go TikTok. I'm not sure. One other thing we have though, we have a podcast, and it's hosted by my good friend Nick Harauz. Nick, if you're still there, can you tell us a little bit about your about I was going to say your podcast, but the podcast. It's everyone's podcast, the people's podcast.
Yeah, it's Boris FX's Flow States, stories from the creative process. We just passed our 10th episode last week with Premier Gal. Great conversation. To me, it's just great to just sit down with people from all different areas of the industry of the products that we support. So video editing, motion graphics, VFX, have a conversation about how they do what they do, their work ethic, how they find creativity, and also apply that to their daily lives. It's just awesome. So I've learned a ton. There's a ton more to come. You know, to let the secret out, there's another 15 in the bag, which is quite exciting. But yeah, just you can check it out. Flow State you can get on any of our different networks, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you're looking for a link to other services that we provide, you can check it out on our Boris FX page as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like there are so many different points of view that come across, all from like different creative worlds. So, you know, no matter where you are in your career or what part of the industry you're in, you know, there's a whole host of interesting tidbits that I get on every single every single episode. And what's really interesting to me is that however people's journey started, there's commonality to everyone who you talk to. There's commonalities in thought processes and and sort of world outlooks, not in the small stuff, but in some of the big stuff. It's really fascinating. Every single week is a joy to listen to.
I agree 100%. I think that there's this common thread between all creators. especially when they're creating content at such a high level and just sharing those stories of their struggles, how they overcame their struggles, not to mention just where their creative ideas and their how that idea then forms into the fully formed products or uh, elements that they share with the world. And just having that open dialogue as well is, I mean, to me, just awesome. I get to talk
Yeah.
to, in many cases, creators who I grew up with and have in the industry and share stories and laughs. And I'd love, you can check out today's episode that just released actually half an hour ago with Evan Abrams as well. Great conversation and an After Effects guru, someone who does a lot of stuff for Adobe and Adobe Live. But yeah, those conversations just kind of keep me going. And
But
it's just,
what
yeah,
what's also really interesting is that there's also, some people who are a bit newer in the industry as well, and just
yeah.
how they've coped with, this sort of rocket explosion of popularity, and just hearing, the energy behind them and behind their ideas is, it's inspiring as well.
Oh, yes. And I think when I say the words high level is just talking about their passion and their inspiration and how they, wherever they are, got to where they are and how they're remaining, not to mention successful, but just coping with your everyday. And
Yeah.
and that to me just provides me with a lot of insight. And I think to the feedback that we've received also to other people out there.
So where can people listen to Flow State? Where's a good place? Say it again.
So, so definitely check out the borisfx.com. You can go to podcasts. I think we just shared the web link. But if you are listening on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, those are two locations that you can go to. We have a few, you can get our RSS feed from the link on the Boris FX page and download it and listen to it today. And we also share little snippets on social, roughly around the area that the podcast is released, 60 to 75 per second inspiration pieces.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Well, let's move on with another part of Continuum 2024.5, something else
Yeah.
that is new and improved. I believe we're going all the way over to Australia. As everyone knows, Australia is in a different time zone. So instead of live streaming with a very, very fast asleep John Dickinson, we are going to be watching a very, very wide awake John Dickinson from a few hours ago. John, tell us a bit more about particle illusion, please.
Thanks, Ben. And hey, everyone. Good to be back on the live stream. Well, at least the virtual version of me. The other version's fast asleep here in Sydney on a cold winter morning. But my job right now is to show you Particle Illusion 2024.5. And it's got some great new usability features. So let's jump straight in. So I thought we could actually just sort of build something here. I create a lot of stuff where I'm given some footage and I'm asked to sort of enhance it with particles. And particle illusion is really good for that. So this is a great opportunity to show you how the new usability features make that even easier to do. So first of all, over here in the preview window, generally what I would do is, try and find the emitter that I want to work with. And, I can click up here in the window and I can drag around. Let me just find something a little more pixely or pixie dust like. This is perfect. So if I click and drag around like this, I can get a preview. That's always been that way. But when I choose another emitter, I've got to click and drag around. But in this new version, what we can do is we can actually record the emitter position. So if I click that and just drag around in a kind of way that I want to see it previewed, when I stop, it keeps that recording. So now all I have to do is just click on different emitters and I can preview those emitters. So a really nice little time saver there. Now I'm going to come and choose Pixie Dust because this is a great one to start with for what I want to do. I'm going to stop that now and I'm going to double click and add that onto my stage. So there's my emitter. Now in previous versions, I would have to click on the emitter and I'd have to move it on the stage and set a keyframe and create my animation. But a great new feature in 2024.5 is position path presets. So all I have to do with the emitter selected is come over to position and right click and choose load preset. And here you go. There's a big range of brand new presets. I've had the pleasure of creating a number of these. And what you can do with these is view them from different directions. So this is front. I can view top. I can view side. This gives you an idea about how they're going to move in 3D space. So if I choose front, and I'm going to choose one specifically that I made with this shot in mind, which is the treble clef. So I just click apply, and up comes the transform position dialog box. This gives me the opportunity to scale and rotate or translate, change the position and scale. For this, what I'd like to do is probably just sort of scale it up a little bit and maybe sort of rotate it a little bit, maybe like that. I'm going to have to move it up or move it down, sorry. I'm going to click apply, and I'm not limited to just one use of that dialog box. All I've got to do is just right click again and choose transform. This time I'm going to translate it and just going to move it down on the Y. So a lot more flexibility in how you can transform your motion paths on the stage, which is great. So that's actually pretty good. If we view this from the top, you can see the particles fly in from the foreground, and then they come out, pretty straight to the side there. It's going to come back to my render view. Let's have a look. All right. So it's a little slow. So how can I speed this up? Well, in the past, you'd have to sort of drag all the keyframes. There was no way to do that. What you can do now is you can right click on position and you can choose scale parameter animation timing. And in this case, I've only got keyframes for the position of the emitter. So that's why I can right click on position and choose this option. We have other options, which I'll show you in a moment. So I want to speed this up. And you can see as I drag, it changes the speed down here. You can see how the keyframes are changing position, and also on the motion path. Obviously, if I drag it out, the keyframes get closer together, so it's going to be slower. And if I drag it to the left, it's going to be faster. So I want to speed it up. Now it shoots out a little faster. And I can go back at any time and make more adjustments to that. Obviously, I can also still, adjust this, adjust individual keyframes. So if I just come back to this point here, maybe I want to make that a little slower in this area. I can always do this like that, which is, no problem. I can just make fine-tuning adjustments like that. If I want to drag that out at the end, have it sort of come out a little slower maybe, whatever I want to do. But if I decide that I want to equalize that animation again to make it more uniform all the way through, what I can do is right-click on position and choose equalize path timing, another great new feature. And that equalizes it out again, which is really useful. It can be a little bit annoying having to go, it was in previous versions, having to go through and adjust lots and lots of keyframes to equalize the timing. So that's a thing of the past now. Now, one thing I want you to notice over here, this is the final keyframe. So this is right here. And it is, it is exiting the stage, but if I just go past that keyframe, we can't see anything in there. But if, say, you had it somewhere like this, notice how we can still see the particles. Now, we haven't actually made any adjustments to this either, but I could, as you saw, I could drag it further away here, but that might change how I want the motion path to move. A great new feature in this version is the ability to turn the animation off at the end of the particle move. Now, in the past, what we'd have to do is set keyframes for, particle number, but we can do that automatically. So all we have to do is right-click, and that's right-clicking on the node, and choose Stop Emission when motion ends. So that adds a couple of keyframes for number, and when we get to that last position keyframe, no more particles. So another great new usability feature. These are all saving so much time when working in particle illusion. And now that we've added keyframes for a different parameter, what if we wanted to change the timing? Well, we can do that. Previously, we clicked on position, but if we have multiple keyframes, we click on the node and we choose scale emitter animation timing. So we can still adjust it even if we have multiple parameters keyframed, which is really great. And if you actually have multiple objects in here and they all have keyframes, you can actually scale the entire project just by choosing scale project animation timing. So 3 levels of scaling, which is super handy. All right, let's just make a few adjustments because I'm fast running out of time. So I'm going to double click on the gradient on the node, particle node, load one of our great presets. Let's just choose something like that and click apply, see how fast I can do this. Okay, so it's looking all right. What I'd like to do is change the particle. Another new feature is clicking on the particle itself and holding, and you can see a larger version of the particle. So you can get a better idea about what it looks like. I'm just going to double click and choose my favorite blur. I think that blur looks a lot better. And what I'd also like to do is choose random gradient, which is, I think, looking a bit better. And they're probably not lasting long enough. So come down and you can see weight over life. They're probably dropping down a little bit. Notice over here also in the graph view that we can see the gradient now, which is great. Another thing I want to point out about gradients is if we double click on the gradient, notice here that we can also see the transparency when we're looking at the color gradient. So this is the alpha over life. So another great usability enhancement that just makes it easier to work with. All right, so I'm just going to come down and where was I? We're doing the over life, aren't we? So come down and notice how I had to sort of come down here and try and find it. Another great feature, and one I've been asking for forever, is to be able to search parameters. If I type in weight, take a look at this. You can see how these have been soloed, so much easier to zero in. So we've also got the option to completely solo those and hide everything else, which is so good. Because particle illusion has so many parameters, being able to find them easier is fantastic. So weight over life, and you know, I don't want them to be so heavy, so I just bring that down a little bit. Super easy to adjust. And I just want to mention while we're in the graph here, if I click on position, you can actually make adjustments in this graph view as well. You can see different X, Y, Z views of the graph, and you can adjust it right in here as well. And the only thing I really want to do this now is just give it a bit more, give them a bit longer life. So let's just find life, L-I-F-E, size over life. So there's life there. So I'm just going to increase that like that. Very nice. Probably a few too many particles, so I'll just type in number. And there's my number, so I'll bring that down to 100. You see how easy it is to work with particle illusion now? It's only taking me a few minutes to create this look. And I haven't used anything like fluid dynamics, or really haven't done anything to this other than use the preset and, well, use all presets really. Preset for the emitter, preset for the path, preset for the gradient. So particle illusion is actually really becoming, I mean, it's always been preset driven as far as, you know, the full emitter presets and project presets, but now functionality like gradients and over life parameters and now motion paths are all preset driven, which is just making it so much easier to work with. And probably the last thing I want to do here is just click away so I can see my cameras and just clear the number and just increase my depth of field. Because these ones in the foreground, you know, they're a bit closer to the camera, so they get a bit larger. You know, adjust the blur strength. play with the aperture. And while we're talking about cameras, what I also want to mention is that position keyframes, position presets, excuse me, can be used with the camera as well. So if I'm, for example, using the position camera, I can right-click on the camera and I can choose load preset. So I can use these presets with the camera as well. All right, so I've fast run out of time. I've been talking, for 12 minutes already. It just flew by. There's other great new enhancements as well. So definitely check out the What's New in Particle Illusion tutorial that I've recorded and to see what else is new. But for now, I'll pass back to Ben.
Thank you very much, John. Yes, I mean, like John said, like those 12 minutes sort of flashed by, and I actually don't think he touched on a lot of the stuff that's actually new in particle illusion, which is why we have this other longer what's new in particle illusion video that is up on the Boris FX website. Yes, don't miss that one. Something else that we sort of did skip over, just from a creative point of view. One of the things that I've been doing in the lead up to this new launch is looking at and creating some of the new particle illusion presets along with Alan Lawrence. And these new workflow presets and the gradient presets have really kind of helped me to sort of dive in and create things that a lot easier than I could ever have done before with multiple sorts of particles come off the same emitter. I think we have some examples on screen here. So one of the things that I've been working on quite a bit is trying to find emitters or emitter presets that work well with text. So all of these ones that you're seeing here respond to the layers alpha channel that you're working on. So if you put on a particle illusion over the top of a piece of text or anything with an alpha channel, then these presets will come in and use that alpha as the emitter itself. Or we've got, here we go, we've got some bubbly things or some effervescent bubbly things. So there's some of them are a little bit fun, other ones are a bit more sort of useful and motion graphic-y, and all of these come as part of the 2024.5 preset package for particle illusion. We also have some ones that are, oh, that's pretty, I like that one. Oh yeah, sorry, I got distracted. It's like a shiny toy just flashing around in my eyes. Yeah, no, we also have ones that aren't reliant on alpha channels. They're sort of your sort of more traditional particle emitters, and we'll be having a look in at those again in a second. So those are ones that I really like to sort of play around with, and sort of start to mix those up with lots of other different continuum effects and actually sapphire effects as well. These are some of the ones that Alan created. They're very pretty, and they're also using the brand new layer blend modes between particles to create up something that looks a little bit more what's the word? Sophisticated is a word I'm looking for. There we go, sophisticated. All right, well let's bring Nick back on into the mix, because Nick, do you have any questions for me?
I do, and I think it's one thing to have these incredible presets in 2024.5 that you guys have added that show some of the new features and abilities inside of particle illusion, but just wanted to add, like, you and Alan and John have been working really hard over the last few versions of really changing the look of the particle illusion library.
Yeah.
And I think back to like the introduction of 3D models and other features that have happened in past versions, and how helpful that is when it comes from a learning perspective. And I think that, combined with your ability to like search for things easier, make it a lot more user-friendly in small, intuitive ways. But I'm curious, if you were just starting to learn particle illusion, where would you go beyond some of these features and inside of that to really get yourself familiar and comfortable with the software?
Yeah, I mean, we do have a getting started with particle illusion series on the website. The only problem with that is that some of the sort of the very basics that we've got have changed. Like the UI has changed since we recorded that training series. So there is one that just says it's called working with nodes or something. I think it's like exercise 22. That's probably the one that you should start with, which is the really kind of strange one, is that you don't start at the top. Yeah, exercise 21 right there, the node view workflow. That's probably the most important one to see, because this breaks down exactly how all of the particle illusion interfaces is now structured. And once you get that under your belt, that's when you have a look at presets. And it really is just like a taking a look and seeing what some of those presets do. And once you've sort of like dipped your toe in a little bit, you can then start from the top and start to work your way down and sort of figure out what's what. Basically, everything is still called the same. It's just in a slightly different place. So watch that number one there. So yeah, go to the training, have a little look, and up the top it's a in our featured series, or maybe there we go. Getting started with particle illusion. That is the place to go. But don't start with exercise 1. Start with exercise 21, because of course you would. I know it's confusing. I'm very sorry. We are wanting to change that confusion. Watch this space. Actually, yeah, click on subscribe. There you go. That's what you should do. Click on subscribe, and you'll be the first to know what's going on. Does that help?
It completely helps. And I wanted to go back to John's video and ask you another question, because to me, this is like, he summed it up perfectly. It's a collection of little features, but have been all rolled into one to really help with usability of particle illusion. So for me, just being able to search for a property or parameter on a given node is a complete time saver, not to mention being able to replace an emitter, especially in a complex particle simulation workflow. I was wondering, like, from your perspective, when you see this as a whole, like, what are some of those new introductions that have recently come out in particle illusion that just make the workflow that much more robust?
I mean, replace emitter is a huge one. Like, even for some of these ones that you're seeing on the screen here, some of these look like they're sort of complex types of emitters going on, but actually, a lot of them are things that are, they're fairly basic, and then they're just duplicated, and then we replace a few little things, and all of a sudden it starts to take on a bit more of a more complex life. I mean, that's replace emitter is a big one. Another big one that I use a lot is the ability to come in and generate up different particles just on the fly, even if I'm not using those straight away. Just being able to go in and use Stability's Gen AI inside of particle illusion. That's a huge one for me. But I'm going to say probably the biggest time saver, and it's something that's so silly. It's the over life curve presets. So
nice.
like when you want something to bounce up and down, you basically you click on a preset, and I'm going to say there's been maybe 3 times since we created that initial batch of presets where I've gone, oh, do you know what I'm really missing is I'm missing a curve that looks a little bit like this. But yeah, the curve library is just such a huge thing for making sure that my animations are dynamic and consistent across these sort of more complex emitters that I'm creating up.
Yeah, all these small little features really kind of amount to something special. And the parts of this, I mean, I use particle illusion particularly in a in a continuum workflow. It still shocks me to this day that it's also available as a transition, and wrapping my head around how you can actually combine some of these presets for some really interesting and deep dive sort of looks in specific projects, but how that also extends out to the suite. This particle illusion is not just available in Continuum, but you can bring it into a still workflow. And while it's extremely pretty, all of those organic examples, I think that there's an extension there of how you can use it in an overall Boris FX workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's what I didn't talk about is the fact that also Mocha is there directly inside of particle illusion as well. So you can create up a Mocha spline and then you can animate things along that spline, or you can use it as a mask for emitting other objects. If you don't want to use, well, what I've done with the text emitters, you basically just use Mocha to create up your emitter as a mask object, and that works in basically every host where you don't have easy access to secondary layers. It's like we were talking about earlier that there are some software where having access to a secondary layer is really easy. After Effects, it's built with that sort of thing in mind. But you go into an NLE, a Premiere or Vega, something like that. There is no easy way of getting that secondary layer in there. So we've got Mocha to generate up those things that you might you can create up a complex path or a complex mask or a complex mask and path, based off of the same thing. There's a huge amount of flexibility there, and I know the learning curve does seem a little bit steep, but actually if you break it down, if you go to there's an emitter emitter library called custom emitters, and those are the most useful ones for learning what's going on. You've got one which is it's a basic emitter which will be a dot that's emitting points, or you've got something that's a burst which will show you how to create a burst based off of the smallest, most simplest particles, and it really sort of breaks down any sort of complexity that you might need. But of course, particle illusion's been around for a long time. If you want to get deep into it, you can absolutely get deep into it. And that's why, something I forgot as well, there is a free version of particle illusion. If you don't even have to pay for it. It's particle illusion standalone. If you go to the hub, you download, it'll be called Particle Illusion Pro, so you install that. But if you don't have a license for Particle Illusion Pro, you get the free version of Particle Illusion standalone. You can render out stuff out of that. There are a few sort of limitations. Obviously, non-commercial use. You can't import background video layers. But if you're wanting to get comfortable with particle illusion, there's no better or freer way of doing it. And you can sort of render stuff out and import it into your into your other editing program afterwards. I definitely recommend that. I love particle illusion, definitely.
I have 30 more questions.
Any more?
I'm going to save you.
Okay.
Questions are.
I'm going to give away some stuff.
I'm
going to give away some stuff. Come on, Nick. Let me give away some stuff, please.
Go for it.
All right. What we've been doing. If you enjoying this stream, please hit the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing if you want to be first with the brand new videos. But definitely hit the thumbs up button. We are going to be giving away another 1-year subscription to Continuum 2024.5. All you have to do is go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and enter your details. In fact, it's going to be too late if you want to win Continuum, but luckily we're giving away a copy of a 1-year subscription of the Boris FX Suite a little bit later on in the stream. So that includes everything that we make, including Continuum and all the rest of our products. But we do have a lucky winner for Continuum, or 1-year subscription of Continuum coming up. We are we're actually applying an electric charge to the tombola, so it's going to be moving at 0.8 times the speed of sound. So I'm hearing it right here in my ear. And I say congratulations to Khalid Gargati. Khalid Gargati, congratulations. You are our second winner of Continuum. You've won a 1-year subscription to Continuum, a $695 value. Well done, Khalid. It's congratulations. Khalid, we will be in contact with you. In fact, we'll be in contact with all of our winners within the next 24 hours to tell you how to claim your prize. Congratulations to you. We've still got plenty of stream to go, and we will be giving away at the end of it a Boris FX Suite still. So head on over to borisfxlive.com and enter your name. Alrighty, let's see what's coming up next. Oh, I see what's coming up next. We have another visit to past Nick. Nick, when he had a different, I'm going to say cleaner clothes on, we're showing off another brand new machine learning filter with inside a Continuum. Nick, show us Witness Protection ML.
As someone who's worked in a variety of different video production disciplines, I've had my fair share of shots where I've had to remove people from being seen within an actual frame. So this involved masking them circularly with their face and tracking them across several frames. What happens though, when you have a shot with multiple people in it, this can get very tedious. And that's where Witness Protection ML comes into place. So let's take a look at how we can work with this inside of Premiere Pro. So here are 5 subjects. One of them we can't see because they're hiding behind the other subjects that we don't have the rights to use their faces. And what we'd like to do is mask and track them out using circular face masks. So this is where we'll head over to our effect controls, and under the match move category, you're going to find Witness Protection ML. I'll just double click that, apply it to my selected clip here in the timeline, and we'll notice that several different face masks have been added. And in addition to that, if we just make this full frame, we can see that they've been tracked over several frames. Now, the great part about this is that we can easily move and adjust these face masks by heading to our effect controls. By default, we have a scale that we can play with. So up the scale to make that bigger on the faces and also increase the feather just a little bit. If we choose to, we can increase the blur, but also introduce a mosaic style where we can have it at a certain scale, where we can select a tint color and then apply it to the face mask as required. We can use the tint independently from the mosaic and the mosaic independently from the scale. If you're ever curious to see the faces that Witness Protection ML has picked up, simply head over to the view where we have output, and you can see the face detection matte overlaying the faces there in white, or alternatively, as an overlay, you'll get these green blobs over any faces it detects. So here is my final result for this shot. And in addition to that, if we just make this full frame, so each of our subjects, even that one who is behind the other 4, has been masked and tracked. Now, this isn't necessarily an example of something that I would find useful in the work that I used to cut, but I want to give you a situation where we can blend this with traditional masking techniques to get the best desirable outcome. Let's pretend that this is a cooking show, and I have the right to the main chef, but the rest of the people who are participating in it are just furious with him and refuse to be seen, but we want to use this overall shot. So just like before, we'll head to our effects, we'll apply Witness Protection. It's now applied those face blurs to each of our subjects, but we'd like to make sure that we see the main chef. So heading to our effect controls, this is where we can go into our Mocha Mask and Track section. Under Mocha Mask, I'll click on Mocha Mask. We'll define a region that we don't want to be affected by the face blur. In this case, it's our chef over here to the left. So I'm just going to grab the elliptical X-spline layer and draw a loose shape here around the subject. Ideally, what I'm looking for when I make adjustments to this shape is something that's not super tight to his face. a little bit loose, but not too much where it's picking up some of the background and it might get confused with other data in the frame. So I like that shape. And then just scrolling back here with my playhead, I'll notice it's a lot of position, scale, and some rotation movement of the subject's head. So I'll go back to the first frame and just get rid of skew in this case. Just track this backward. I'll move back to the first frame that I created the mask in, and then just track this forward a few frames. The magic of this is that we just need a loose selection around the subject. Of course, we can use Mocha and all its capabilities to make refinements to our shape mask if it's getting too big, which it is in this case. It's expanded a little bit. Over this period of frames, I'll just select these upper points here and then just drag them inner so the shape doesn't get too big. So just to see this carry over, I'm going to close out of Mocha, save all this information, and inside of Premiere Pro, right now we'll see that it's the cook's face where we see the witness protection ML applied. Now, inside of our effect controls, under Pixel Chooser Mocha, if we twirl that down and then head into the mask section, we can invert this mask. So now, simply by using Mocha in combination with our automatic witness protection ML, we're able to keep our chef for the period of frames that I've tracked, make sure that we see his face for that entire duration. Now, in certain cases, witness protection might not work to your advantage, and this is where just traditional Mocha masking and tracking will come to your advantage. So let's just take a look at this. I'm just going to apply witness protection, and due to this rotation movement, we do get a little bit of funkiness with each of the face masks. In this case, we just wanted to apply it to one of the faces. So what I'll do is head over to my effect controls. In this case, we'll go back into our Mocha mask and click on the Mocha mask button in order to find the face that we'd like to track. I'll use the traditional X-spline tool here at the top of the menu and then just make a few points here around the subject's face that I'd like to blur. Now keep in mind, Mocha, which is attached to Pixel Chooser, is a very powerful effect where you can use also just very simple shapes in order to mask out certain regions of the frame, get rid of any problematic areas that might occur. Now that that's defined, again, looking at the movement, it was just rotation, scale, and position data. So I'll get rid of skew and then just track this for a few frames. We can see the great responsiveness of just this and the traditional track and how we can use Mocha in general to up our workflow in traditional NLEs. I'll close out of Mocha and not forget to save. So back here inside of Premiere Pro, at first glance, it might appear like the witness protection mask and track is still off. We just have to disable the automatic tracking. And now that that's done, it's now referencing just the Mocha mask. You can see it's tracked really well. And to adjust its feathering and other properties, we want to head into Pixel Chooser Mocha. By the way, we can also use this in tandem with that face detection ML. We could use other things such as gradient masks in the mix. In this case, I'll just open up the mask settings and let's just come up here to increase that mask feather. Of course, we can invert it as well. And here is that end result. So there you have it, working with Witness Protection ML, the power of being able to automatically mask and track several faces for the majority of shots, and then just remove one if required, depending on which footage you have.
Thank you very much, past Nick. Now, future Nick, welcome back. Are you ready? Are you ready for a grilling?
I am. I'm ready for a grilling. Do you have your questions ready?
I do. I love this. I love this. This is one of those effects that it's really nice to see people's reaction to it the first time.
Yeah.
Especially if they've been doing this sort of work manually before. All right. Okay. My first question is, with Witness Protection ML, what happens if there are 10 faces, 20 faces, 30 faces on screen at the time? Does the plugin get tired at all?
And No, it doesn't actually get tired. It will pick up on those faces and it will mask and it will track them, and it does it um, in a really optimized and fast way. It's kind of shocking when you first try it, because if you're used to any traditional method of having to add that mask and then track it, you know the consuming amount of time that is involved with that process. And it gets even ickier if it's just not one person, right? If it's multiple people that you don't have the rights to. And this blend between that and then traditional, now optimized tracking methods with the new integration of Mocha now into Continuum 2024.5 kind of makes the perfect mix, you know? Um, and I look at this effect. There's nothing screaming out about it that it's super pretty, right? But when we talk about ML in general and like the future of AI, to me is workflows that are automated to help you elevate your storytelling. And if we can
Yeah.
take out some of the tedious processes that were involved with video editing that no one really wants to do, to help guide that and give people more use cases to find better ways of taking their story and making it better, taking that
Yeah.
out, I think that's a great use of ML and AI in general.
Absolutely. And I've worked with a lot of people who do, those reality cop shows, and there's a lot of painstaking work to blur out people's faces, which at the end of the day, a lot of that tracking, it's not that pretty anyway. And I think that some of the results I've seen from the automated version of doing this, it's a lot faster and a lot more stable than some poor guy who's been he's been stuck behind the wheel for 12 hours, and he's started to get a little bit kind of tired of tracking in people's faces.
Exactly.
And the fact that you can do it so quickly and so easily is just amazing. What I really enjoyed was you showing off the fact that you can mix in Mocha and the witness protection ML together to sort of limit where you're doing the effect. It doesn't just have to be like when you had that effect there with all the young chefs and the veteran chef behind it. You didn't have to track his face, did you? There is other ways of doing that shot if you only have to limit it to a certain part of the screen.
Yeah, no, you didn't have to track the face. You could track other various areas. You could spend some more time and basically find various regions and then define that area as the thing to not track. But I guess in addition to this is Mocha in Continuum is a part of something called Pixel Chooser. And Pixel
Yeah.
Chooser has like a built-in way of masking out elements in about 6 or 7 different ways. So you can hop into Mocha and make very illicit and specific masks, or you can use very simple masks right in your host, like a rectangle, a circle, an ellipse, even a gradient to define a specific area. Let's say there was, for some reason, a blip that happened on the left side of the frame because of the camera movement or the motion picked up the fact that it thought it saw a face. You could use this and intertwine it in the workflow. And that mix, I think, makes it perfect for this type of work.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that's it. Like the ability to use Pixel Chooser to quickly and Mocha to quickly make garbage masks, and then let this effect do the hard work for you. That's properly a winning strategy there.
Yeah.
Questions from chat like, uh, will the ML recognize a particular person on a different shot?
Oh, like to replicate the look of the person.
Yeah.
So witness protection by itself will see all faces in the shot, and
Okay.
primarily it works very well at faces that are looking directly at camera, although it does recognize faces that are side profile. give or take, anything that looks like a face it will also pick up on. You can't plug in information if the question is like, this is the person, I want them tracked in other shots at this point in time. But I would put that in just as a piece of feedback because we're always collecting that, and that could make it maybe a potentially super cool tool in a future version.
Absolutely. And the nice thing about these streams is that we have parts of the product team directly inside of the chat. So if you do have these types of feature requests, stick them in chat. Stick them in chat now. It might be down there, it could be over there, but it's more than likely it's just there. The very final place that I always point to. All right. One more question with this then. Can you use those mats for other things, for other layers, for other effects?
Oh yeah. So I mean, if you're using Mocha in general in Continuum, Mocha masking, you can export out that data and then have it imported into other effects that you can apply and use in a workflow. There are other ways, of course, of taking advantage of some of the other data through copying and pasting, but if we're specifically talking about masking data, inside of Mocha, you can go to the file menu and export that, and then import that into another effect that supports Mocha masking, and it will be applied equally to all of those layers. And I love this too, because of course, this is advantageous when it comes to multiple effects, BCC plus effects in one host. But if you ever have to transfer this data over to someone, I'm editing in Avid and you're finalizing stuff in DaVinci Resolve, I could export that data and then you could interpret that into your workflow, in addition to whatever thing we use to transfer the entire project over.
Yeah, that's it. So there's no sort of duplication of work there. You're sort of working a lot smarter across teams. I like that. I like that. I mean, how about the rendered mat out of Witness Protection ML? Would that be then available as well for other effects?
Yes, the rendered mat, like in terms of just being able to see the mat layer, of course, we can take advantage of that information and do a number of different workflows in terms of using it as a track mat in, let's say, a layer stack or a workflow, and then having that transfer over to other effects.
Yeah, so if you wanted something that wasn't just a tint or a blur or a mosaic, you can still do any of those sorts of effects. You just, you use the rendered out things as a track mat.
Yes.
I like it. I think that's very cool. I mean, we are obviously we're running out of time. We always do with these things. Out of and this isn't all of the the new stuff inside of Continuum as well. What other things? What other improvements have there been in Continuum 2024.5? Just okay. There are tons. I'm going to ask you for top 3, please.
So my top 3 in general, we've added a tons of presets, 100 in general. Of course, some for the newer effects like Color Link and Witness Protection that could get you started with a specific type of look. My favorite happens to be in the BCC Light category, which allows you to add a gobo across an image. We've added 50 of them to this effect. And it's just a great kind of creative use case. I mean, your traditional sense of just adding a gobo or shadows to elevate your shot or the look of the shots that require it with a light modifier, I think are great. But there are so many other applications that you can apply it even with like the idea of logo projection. So definitely something to check out. The next feature, the FX editor, which you can use to browse tons of Continuum presets. And, there are certain effects like BCC plus film stocks that have over 700, effects to look at, has been optimized in terms of allowing for a cache now. So you're getting near real-time playback when you are previewing effects.
Yeah. And
my third would be the compare mode. So all BCC plus effects now have a compare mode that you can work with directly in a host. You've got a few options, but one is like a side-by-side comparison. So with Retimer, this is perfect because you can always keep track of the original frame and then compare next to the adjusted percentage that you make and the frame adjustment, which can really help to dial in the specific timing or ramping that's required. Not to mention just keep track of the general look. And then you could, of course, do a wipe comparison as well.
Yeah, I love the compare mode. In fact, I love it the most with Denoise ML. Not
Yeah.
because of its huge sort of practical effects, but just whenever I think that like I'm not quite sure what's happened. Like I thought, I sort of I've got a very very short term memory when it comes to how bad my original footage is. So being able to see it like really really stark, like this is the original, this is what you came to the table with, and this is what you're taking home. Yeah, the compare mode's brilliant. It means you can properly dial in the exact right amount of an effect that you want as well, without sort of getting that effect blindness where you stare at an effect for so long that you forget where things were when it started, and you end up sort of over salting everything. Yeah, compare mode is so good, and I'd forgotten it's brand new as well for the plus effect in this, because it feels so natural within 30 seconds of using it.
Yeah, you always want to do before and afters, within your workflow, and to have that
Yeah.
visualization, and to have it not only in the effects editor, which has been there for a while, but in your desired host is great. And to redo my answer, because the features that I did mention were native to what we haven't talked about. But if I were to make a standout feature, would go back to the first video, the Denoise ML, just the addition of having it 2 times faster, and seeing the fact that we've upgraded that model to a new model just really speaks volume in terms of being able to provide more performance on every single release that we put out.
Yeah, I agree. I think I love it. I love it. There's so much to dive into here. Calling it a 0.5 seems a little bit weird, but I mean that's the naming convention we've got. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
All right, Nick, before we say goodbye to you, I just want to remind people we are giving away a free copy, a 1-year subscription to the Boris FX Suite. But before we do that, that's going away. You might have. I'm going to give you 25 seconds before we give away that subscription to go to borisfxlive.com, and if you haven't already entered, you can still enter the prize draw for that. To go to borisfxlive.com, go down to the bottom of the page and to tap your details in exactly there. Full terms and conditions obviously apply. But before we do that, Nick, where can people find out more about the new stuff, but also about all of the stuff that is available in Continuum?
Well, definitely check out borisfx.com, and you can head to the Continuum page, which when you get there, you'll see that there's a tab for what's new. And on that, it will break down several of the new features we covered here in the live stream, diving into more information and detail about each of them, and also link to some of the videos that we have up for Retimer and witness protection and Color Link that we talked about. And you'll be seeing some more information roll out in the coming weeks as well with these tools. But John Dickinson there has a particle illusion, the enhancements and improvements. Also did one on Color Link, and we'll have some more definitely, covering some of these retiming features, not to mention the witness protection ML.
Yeah. If you're brand new to a particular Boris FX product as well, I'm going to recommend, that's not me, Brian. This is where you push the button where I'm talking. There we go. There we go. That's the one. Yeah, I'm going to recommend that you take a look at the Getting Started tutorials as well. Each product has a Getting Started. So getting started with Continuum, getting started with Sapphire, getting started with Mocha, getting started with Synthesize. We've getting started with particular bits of Silhouette, Roto, compositing. There's a lot of getting started videos, essentials, training. So those are the places that you should always start. And then if you're looking for a particular feature, you can then pop in and sort of use the use the search to find a particular feature that you're missing inside the free training. And there's a lovely little search bar up at the top left there. So if you're looking for Primat, you type in Primat. You're looking for Retimer, you type in Retimer, and you'll get the videos down there that are all about that particular feature. All right, Nick, thank you very, very much for joining me today. Congratulations on all the hard work that you and the Continuum team have done on this release. It's a lot of fun to use, and I'm really glad that other people are going to start to use it as well now.
Well, thanks a lot, Ben. And yeah, just to reiterate your sentiment about the Continuum team and all the work like that engineering has put behind this, from the ML team to the Continuum team that put this release together and made it, so solid. And it really, when you think about a 0.5, it's a massive release. So I have fun playing with that and checking out some of the tutorials as we roll them out.
All right, thanks, Nick. I'll talk to you again soon. All right, bye for now. All righty. Well, we've come to that time of the show again where it's almost time to say goodbye. But before we do that, it's my favorite bit. I'm going to give away a copy of the Boris FX Suite. It's a 1-year subscription of the Boris FX Suite, and you too could join one of our other 2 winners today and walk away with a 1-year subscription of the Boris FX Suite if you are the lucky name out of Ben's beautiful big tombola. Could we find another word that's alliterative with Ben, big and beautiful? I don't think we can. So let's pull out the next name, which is Justin Scapace. Justin Scapace. Congratulations, Justin. If I have butchered your name, congratulations. You are on a very, very long list of people. But all I'm going to say is that hopefully we can make it up for you, or make it up to you, with your 1-year subscription of the Boris FX Suite. So congratulations, Justin. Thank you very much. If you're in chat, let yourself be known. If you're not Justin or any of our other winners, obviously give Justin a big thumbs up. And speaking of thumbs up, this is where if you haven't done so already, see if you can trigger that confetti with the like button one last time. This is your final chance to make me happy. There we go. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much, Nick, for joining me. Thank you very much, John, for joining me in spirit. Thank you very much to the Continuum team, of course, for being here in the chat. And of course, thank you very much to each and every one of you for joining us at Boris FX Live. Remember, come over to borisfxlive.com and find out what the next topic of conversation is going to be. But for now, my name is and will always be Ben Brownlee, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.